My son cut me out of his life for 20 years. 20 years of silence. No calls. No visits. Nothing. Until the day my lottery win hit the front page of the Lincoln Journal-Star. $15 million. Suddenly, my phone rang. The sound cut through my quiet evening like a knife. I was watching Wheel of Fortune, my usual routine. I almost didn't answer. Probably another telemarketer. But something made me reach for it. Dad. That one word hit me like a punch to the chest. I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles went white. My heart surgery scar ached. 20 years. And now this casual greeting, like we just talked yesterday. Brandon. My voice came out steady, though inside I was shaking. This is unexpected. Yeah, well. That nervous laugh I remembered from when he was 8 years old, caught stealing cookies. Listen, I know it's been a while, but Christmas is coming up. Patricia and I were thinking, you know, family time. We'd love to have you over for dinner. Family time. The words tasted like ashes in my mouth. I stared at the newspaper clipping on my coffee table. My face smiling under the headline, "Local Man Wins Big." A while. I couldn't keep the edge from my voice. Brandon, you haven't spoken to me in 2 decades. Do you remember the birthday cards I sent? They all came back unopened. Dad, come on. I've been busy. You know how life is. Building a career, raising kids. There's never enough time. Never enough time. I stood up, pacing my small living room. But suddenly now there's time. Right after the newspaper article. Quite a coincidence, this invitation. Silence on the other end. Too long. Dad, that's not, I'm happy for you, but that's not why I'm calling. We just thought it would be nice to reconnect. You're getting older. We're all getting older. I almost laughed. Bitter and cold. I've been getting older for 20 years, Brandon. Where were you when I had my heart surgery? When I spent every Christmas alone in this house? His voice shifted. Defensive now. Look, I know things haven't been perfect, but that's in the past. We're family. That has to count for something. Family. I thought of all the years sitting by this phone, hoping it would ring. All the messages left on voicemails that were never returned. All the letters marked return to sender. You're right. I said finally. Family does count for something. I'll be there. Really? His voice brightened immediately. That's great, Dad. Christmas Eve, around 6. I'll text you the address. You do that. I paused, letting the silence stretch. And Brandon, I have a surprise for you. A surprise? I could practically hear the dollar signs in his tone. What kind of surprise? You'll see. I hung up before he could respond. My hand was trembling as I set the phone down. Outside my window, snow had begun to fall, covering the quiet streets of Lincoln in white. I stood there staring at nothing, my mind already working. 20 years of silence. And now, suddenly, an invitation. I wasn't born yesterday. I knew exactly what this was about. But they had no idea what they were walking into. Because the broken man they remembered, the failure who lost everything in a divorce, that man was gone. I'd spent 2 decades learning how to win. And Christmas Eve was going to be very educational for my son. The last time I heard my son's voice before tonight was December 14, 2003. 20 years ago. I remember the date because it was the day the divorce became final. I was 45 years old, standing in my new apartment, a 1-bedroom rental on the south side of Lincoln. Everything I owned fit into 6 cardboard boxes. Patricia had gotten the house, the car, and our son's loyalty. "You're pathetic, Stanley." Her words still echo sometimes. 45 years old with nothing to show for it. A dead-end accounting job. A mortgage we can barely afford. Richard treats me like a queen. Richard Blackwell. Corner office. BMW. Everything I wasn't. Brandon was 18 then. Old enough to choose sides. He chose hers without hesitation. "Mom's right, Dad." His voice cold, certain, the way only teenagers can be certain. "Maybe if you tried harder, been more successful, none of this would have happened." I tried to explain. Tried to make him understand. But he'd already decided. His stepfather had money. Influence. Connections. What did I have? A broken heart and a used Honda Civic. The silence that followed was absolute. I sent birthday cards every year. All 40 of them came back. Address unknown. Return to sender. I kept them in a shoebox in my closet. Proof that I tried. I mailed an invitation to his MBA graduation in 2008. Never heard back. Didn't even know if he opened it. I called every Christmas. Left messages. "Happy holidays, Brandon. I love you. I hope you're well." The voicemail box would fill up, then stop accepting messages entirely. 2015, I had my heart surgery. Triple bypass. They said I was lucky to survive. I woke up in the hospital room alone. The nurse asked if I wanted her to call my family. "I don't have family," I told her. But I did have family. I had a son. He just didn't want me. I called him from that hospital bed. Hands shaking. Monitor beeping. Voicemail again. "Brandon, it's your father. I just had surgery. I almost died. I wanted you to know. I wanted to hear your voice." He never called back. Recovery was 6 months. Physical therapy. Learning to walk upstairs again without getting winded. Mrs. Chen from next door brought me soup sometimes. She was the closest thing to family I had. I learned to live with the emptiness. To fill my days with work. My evenings with silence. My Christmases with TV dinners and old movies. I never stopped hoping he'd call. Until the day I realized something. I didn't need him to call anymore. I'd survived without him. I'd built a life without him. And that's when everything changed. Because a man with nothing to lose is dangerous. But a man who's already lost everything and survived, that man is unstoppable. I didn't know it then, but my real education was just beginning. And the teacher was loneliness itself. Loneliness taught me something Patricia never expected. It taught me how to win. After the divorce, I needed to fill the hours. The endless evenings in that empty apartment. The weekends with nothing but silence. I started reading. Not novels. Real estate foreclosure listings in the Lincoln Journal-Star. It was 2008. The housing market was collapsing. Everyone was running scared. But I saw something different. I saw opportunity. There was a duplex on the south side. Small. Beat up. Peeling paint and an overgrown yard. But the bones were solid. And the price was right. $10,000. Every penny I'd saved since the divorce. "You sure about this, Mr. Mitchell?" The banker looked at me over his glasses. "Real estate's a dangerous game. Right now. I'm sure." I spent 6 months fixing that duplex. Every evening after work. Every weekend. Scraping paint. Replacing boards. Fixing leaks. The physical labor felt good. Purposeful. For the first time in years, I was building something instead of just surviving. 6 months later, I had tenants. A young couple just starting out. Grateful for clean walls and working plumbing. The rent covered my mortgage with $200 left over. I took that $200 and started saving for the next property. By 2010, I owned 3 properties. By 2015, 12. By 2020, 23 properties across Lincoln. I still lived in the same rental apartment. Still drove my 2008 Honda Civic, still wore the same Walmart jeans and flannel shirts. Every penny went back into the business. People in Lincoln knew me as the quiet guy. The one who helped folks out. I taught financial literacy at St. Mary's Church on Thursday nights. Helped families understand mortgages. Budgets. How to build something from nothing. Pastor Williams used to joke. "Harold, you're the richest poor man I know." He didn't know how right he was. By November 2023, my properties were worth just over $3 million. I'd built that fortune one careful decision at a time. One tenant at a time. One repair at a time. Then on November 18th, I stopped at Casey's General Store for coffee. Saw the Powerball sign. 280 million. On a whim. I bought a ticket. $5. Quick pick. 3 days later, my phone rang at 2 in the morning. The lottery commission. "You need to come down to our office, Mr. Mitchell. We have something to discuss." $15 million after taxes. The news hit the Lincoln Journal-Star the next day. Front page. My photo. Local accountant wins big. They interviewed me at my apartment. Took pictures of my modest furniture. My second-hand television. People called me humble. Lucky. Blessed. What they didn't know was that luck had landed on a foundation I'd built through 20 years of discipline. 15 million added to 3 million. I was worth more than Patricia and Richard combined. More than Brandon could imagine. I thought maybe now he'd be proud of me. Maybe now he'd see that his father wasn't a failure after all. 3 days later, the phone rang. And I learned exactly what my son thought of me. Spoiler alert. It had nothing to do with pride. I wanted to believe my son had changed. That maybe, just maybe, he genuinely wanted his father back in his life. So I decided to test him. 3 days after Brandon's call, my phone rang again. This time it was Patricia. "Harold." That breathy voice I remembered. The one she used when she wanted something. "I hope you don't mind me calling. I got your number from Brandon." "Patricia." I kept my voice neutral. "What can I do for you?" "Listen, I know things ended badly between us. But we have a son together. That has to count for something." She paused. "Brandon's in trouble, Harold. Real trouble. His business. Investors breathing down his neck. If he doesn't come up with the money soon." I could hear whispering in the background. Brandon's voice. "Ask for more. Tell him it's urgent." "How much?" I asked. "Well, 400,000 would cover everything." "I hate to ask, but with your recent good fortune." She lowered her voice. "It's for the grandkids' future, Harold. You don't want them to suffer, do you?" Grandkids. The word hit me like a sledgehammer. I didn't even know I had grandchildren. That night, I couldn't sleep. I opened Facebook. Searched for Brandon's profile. There they were. Emma, 8 years old. Lucas, 5. Birthday parties. Halloween costumes. First days of school. An entire life I'd been excluded from. I scrolled through years of photos. Christmas mornings. Family vacations. Graduations. Me. I wasn't in a single picture. Not mentioned once. Erased completely. I sat at my kitchen table and cried. Not for me. For those kids who'd never know their grandfather because their father chose money over family. The next morning, I called Brandon back. Dad. He sounded surprised. Didn't expect to hear from you so soon. I've been thinking about what your mother said. About your financial troubles. I paused. Actually, Brandon, I have some troubles of my own. Troubles? Financial ones. I made some terrible decisions with the lottery money. Got caught up in cryptocurrency trading. Bitcoin. Ethereum. All those digital currencies everyone was talking about. Silence. Then, how bad is it? Pretty bad. Lost most of it in a market crash last week. I might have enough left to cover my basic expenses, but not much more. The silence stretched. 3 seconds. I counted. Well. His voice changed. Completely. Colder. Distant. That's unfortunate, Dad. I guess these things happen. I waited. Gave him a chance to offer comfort. Support. Anything that resembled concern for his father. So, about Christmas. He cleared his throat. Maybe it would be better if you didn't come this year. I mean, with everything you're dealing with, you probably need to focus on getting your finances sorted out. There it was. The mask completely off. So the invitation is off the table. It's just, you understand, right? Patricia's been planning this big meal and we were kind of counting on. Anyway. It's probably better this way. Less stress for everyone. Less stress. I nodded to myself, though he couldn't see it. Of course. I wouldn't want to burden you. Look, I gotta run. Conference call in 5 minutes. But we'll talk soon, okay? When you get back on your feet. The line went dead. I sat there holding the phone. 20 years of silence. The moment they thought I was broke again. Right back to nothing. I wasn't surprised. But confirmation still hurt. I'd raised that boy. Taught him to ride a bike. Stayed up all night when he had pneumonia. Loved him unconditionally. And this is who he'd become. But here's what Brandon didn't know. I'd recorded that call. Legal in Nebraska. And I wasn't broke. I was testing him. He failed. Spectacularly. Now it was time for Phase 2. Because if they wanted to play games, I'd show them what a real strategist looked like. I spent 40 years as an accountant. I know how to follow money trails. And my son left a trail a mile wide. I started with LinkedIn. Brandon's profile showed a string of companies. Brooks Tech Solutions. BM Innovations. FutureWave AI. Fancy names. Impressive descriptions. Revolutionary. Software. Cutting-edge technology. Game-changing platforms. Every single one had collapsed within 12 months. I called Jim Patterson at the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce. We'd known each other for years. Jim, what do you know about Brandon Mitchell? He laughed. Bitter and sharp. That kid? He burned through investor money like confetti. Promised revolutionary AI software. Delivered nothing. But expensive lunches and excuses. Owes over $2 million to people who trusted him. $2 million. I made notes on my legal pad. Who did he take money from? Jim gave me names. Helen Martinez. Robert Chen. 7 investors total. Good people. Retirees who'd invested their savings. Small business owners who believed in his pitch. I contacted each one. They'd been looking for Brandon for months. He'd vanished. Changed his phone number. Moved. Left no forwarding address. I have his current address, I told them. And his phone number. And proof of where he's been spending your money. Because I'd found his Instagram. Luxury cars. Designer clothes. $200 steaks at Lincoln's finest restaurants. Bottle service at clubs. All posted publicly. All time-stamped. All while he was claiming bankruptcy to his investors. But that wasn't even the worst part. Patricia's Facebook page was a masterpiece of manipulation. Day 47 of chemo. Your donations keep me fighting. Photo of her looking weak. Bald cap. Hospital gown. I scrolled through months of posts. The treatments are draining. Experimental therapy my insurance won't cover. Every dollar helps. Pray for me. Her GoFundMe page showed $127,000 in donations. 412 people. Strangers sending $20. $50. $100. They probably couldn't afford. Praying for you. Stay strong, warrior. You've got this. The comments broke my heart. But here's what made me suspicious. In Brandon's recent Instagram photos, Patricia looked perfectly healthy. Full hair. No weakness. Smiling at expensive restaurants. I cross-referenced the dates. Every time Patricia posted about her cancer struggle, donations spiked. And within days, Brandon posted about a new purchase. New watch. New car lease. New designer suit. They were working together. Mother and son. Scamming sick people. Scamming desperate people. People who donated because they'd lost loved ones to cancer. People who believed they were helping someone fight for their life. My ex-wife was faking cancer. My son was stealing from investors. And together, they wanted my money too. I sat in my quiet apartment and felt something I hadn't felt in 20 years. Not sadness. Not hurt. Pure rage. But rage is useless without a plan. And I was very good at planning. I needed proof. Hard evidence. And I knew exactly where to get it. The game was about to change. And they had no idea what was coming. Justice requires evidence. And patience. I had plenty of both. The next morning, I started making calls. Helen Martinez answered on the second ring. Helen, my name is Harold Mitchell. Your name came up in connection with Brandon Mitchell. I understand he owes you money. $50,000. Her voice was tight with anger. We've been trying to find him for 8 months. He vanished. I know exactly where he is. By the end of the day, I'd contacted all 7 investors. Gave them Brandon's address. His phone number. Copies of his Instagram posts showing how he'd spent their money. Their lawyers moved fast. Emergency lawsuit filed December 18. $2.1 million. Fraud charges. Asset freezes. But Patricia's medical records were a problem. I couldn't just ask for them. HIPAA laws. Privacy protections. Even for an ex-husband. So I hired a private investigator. Mike Torres. Former Lincoln police detective. $1,500. Took him 3 days. Mr. Mitchell. He called me back. Your ex-wife hasn't been to St. Elizabeth's Hospital in 5 years. No oncology appointments. No chemotherapy. No cancer treatment of any kind. Can you document that? Already done. And I contacted GoFundMe's fraud department. They're investigating. I also called Sarah Kim at the Lincoln Journal-Star. Sent her everything. The fake Facebook posts. The GoFundMe evidence. The investigators' findings. She ran the story December 20th. Lincoln woman accused of fake cancer fundraising scam. Then I contacted the Nebraska Attorney General's office. Fraud Division. Sent them the same evidence. Everything was timed perfectly. December 24th. Christmas Eve. My phone rang December 22nd. Brandon. Dad, I heard you. Recovered the money. That's amazing. Yes, I said. Everything worked out fine. So, Christmas is still on. 6 p.m. Christmas Eve. I'll be there. With your surprise. Great. Great. His voice practically dripped with greed. We can't wait to see you. I hung up and smiled. The trap was set. All the pieces were in place. In 2 days, my son would learn a very expensive lesson. Some surprises, you see, aren't the kind you want. I dressed carefully that Christmas Eve. Not for celebration. For reckoning. The drive across Lincoln took 20 minutes. Brandon's house sat in a newer development. Vinyl siding. Identical lawns. Christmas lights strung unevenly across the porch. I could see shapes moving behind the windows. I rang the doorbell at exactly 6 p.m. Dad. Brandon opened the door with arms spread wide. You made it. Come in, come in. Patricia appeared behind him. Thinner than I remembered. But her eyes were sharp. Calculating. Harold. So wonderful to see you. You look well. I stepped into their living room. Took it all in. 75-inch television. Still had the price tag dangling. Designer bags draped over chairs. Louis Vuitton. Gucci. Expensive furniture that didn't quite match. All bought with other people's money. Thank you for having me, I said. Hung my coat carefully. The dining table could have seated 12. Loaded with food. Turkey. Ham. Sides. Looked impressive. Tasted like grocery store catering pretending to be homemade. Brandon carved the turkey like he was performing surgery. Theatrical. Patricia poured wine into crystal glasses. So, Harold. Patricia's voice was honey sweet. Brandon mentioned you recovered from that cryptocurrency situation. How fortunate. Very fortunate, I agreed. Their eyes lit up like slot machines. Brandon launched into his pitch. Dad, I wanted to talk to you about an opportunity. AI development. Revolutionary technology. The initial investors are projecting 500% returns in 18 months. I cut my turkey into precise pieces. 500%. That sounds remarkable. It is. But it's time sensitive. The window closes. After Christmas. I'd need $300,000 for the entry stake. He leaned forward. This could set up the whole family. Your grandchildren's future. Patricia nodded eagerly. Emma and Lucas. They're so bright, Harold. This investment could pay for their college. Grandchildren I'd never met. Whose existence had been hidden from me for 8 years. I looked at Brandon. Saw the 8-year. Old boy I'd taught to ride a bike. The kid who'd cried when his hamster died. For 1 second, I wanted to believe he'd changed. Then he mentioned the money again. The knock came at 6:47. Sharp. Authoritative. The kind of knock that means business. Brandon frowned. Set down his fork. I wasn't expecting anyone. He opened the door. A man in a dark coat stood there holding an envelope. Brandon Mitchell. Yes. You've been served. The envelope landed in Brandon's hands. He stared at it. Opened it. His face drained of color. This can't be. His voice shook. The investors. They found me. What is it? Patricia grabbed the papers. Lawsuit. Emergency asset freeze. Fraud charges. Brandon flipped through 47 pages. $2.1 million. How did they even know where I was? Patricia pulled out her phone. Probably to call a lawyer. Then she stopped. Stared at her screen. What the hell? 97 notifications. All at once. She started scrolling. Her face went pale. They're saying I faked cancer. Look at these comments. Fraud. Scammer. There's hundreds of them. Brandon grabbed the phone. Read aloud. Lincoln woman exposed for fake cancer. Fundraising scam. Anonymous source provides medical records proving Patricia Mitchell never received cancer treatment despite collecting over $100,000. Patricia's hands were shaking. Someone hacked my medical records. This is illegal. Is it true? Brandon's voice was deadly quiet. Of course it's not true. But even she didn't sound convinced anymore. Jesus, Mom. Brandon's face was white. They're going to investigate everything. My lawsuits. Your donations. All of it. Patricia's phone kept buzzing. Notification after notification. Former donors demanding refunds. Reporters requesting interviews. Law enforcement asking questions. Make it stop, she whispered. I can't make it stop. Brandon snapped. You did this. You brought this on us. They both turned to me. Simultaneously. As if suddenly remembering I was there. Harold. Patricia's voice shifted. Pleading now. You said you had a surprise for us. Please. We need your help. The money you mentioned. We need it now more than ever. Brandon nodded frantically. Dad, I know this looks bad. But we can fix this. Hire the best lawyers. The best PR firms. With your help. We can make this all go away. I stood up slowly. Set my napkin down. Their eyes followed my every movement. Desperate. Hungry. I already gave you your surprise, I said quietly. You're holding it. What? Brandon stared at the lawsuit papers. I walked to the coat rack. Put on my jacket. Took my time with each button. What do you mean? Patricia's voice was rising toward panic. I mean exactly what I said. I gave you what you deserve. But the money. Brandon started. There is no money. Not for you. I walked to the door. Harold, wait. Patricia grabbed for my arm. You can't just leave. I turned to look at them one last time. My son. My ex-wife. 20 years they treated me like I didn't exist. I waited 20 years for you to love me, I said. Turns out I didn't need your love. I just needed my self-respect. Brandon's face changed. Realization dawning. You did this. You set this up. I taught you to ride a bike, Brandon. Stayed up all night when you were sick. Loved you unconditionally. And you threw me away like garbage the moment you thought I had nothing. I opened the door. Snow was falling outside. Enjoy your Christmas, I said. You earned it. Dad, please. But I was already walking to my car. Their voices fading behind me. The door closed. And with it, 20 years of hoping they'd change. I drove away without looking back. In my rearview mirror, I could see their house. Warm and bright. And completely empty of everything that mattered. Justice, I'd learned, doesn't always feel good. Sometimes it just feels necessary. And I'd never felt more at peace. The weeks that followed brought news. Some satisfying. Some just sad. Brandon's assets were frozen by January. House foreclosed in February. He had to move back in with Patricia. The irony wasn't lost on me. Criminal charges were filed. Wire fraud. Investor fraud. Faces up to 10 years. Patricia's GoFundMe was shut down. Refund process initiated. The Nebraska Attorney General filed charges. Fraud. Theft by deception. Her Facebook page was deleted. The public shame in Lincoln was absolute. March brought a voicemail. Brandon's voice. Dad, I'm sorry. I know I messed up. If you could just help with the legal fees. We could work out a payment plan. Even in his apology. He was asking for money. I deleted it without a second thought. That same week, I did something I hadn't done in 20 years. I took a vacation. Drove through the Rocky Mountains. Stayed in small towns where nobody knew my story. In Colorado Springs, I met a widow named Margaret. She volunteered at a literacy program. By the time I got back to Lincoln, I'd signed up to tutor. At the library. Started volunteering at St. Mary's Food Bank. Made real friends. Pastor Williams. Mrs. Chen. People who valued honesty over money. I still live in my modest house. Still drive my Honda. But now these are choices, not limitations. I spent 20 years waiting for my son to love me. Turns out I didn't need his love. I needed my own respect. The money didn't change me. It revealed who everyone really was. And that revelation set me free. One evening in May, I was packing for a trip to the Grand Canyon when my phone rang. Brandon again. I let it go to voicemail. Didn't even listen. Some relationships can't be fixed. And that's okay. I loaded my car with maps and possibilities. Life at 65 isn't an ending. It's a beginning. Here's what Harold's story teaches us. Family isn't just about blood. It's about loyalty. Respect. Showing up when it matters. Brandon and Patricia had 20 years to be family. They chose money instead. And that choice revealed everything. We live in a world that measures success by bank accounts and square footage. But real wealth? Real wealth is sleeping peacefully at night. Knowing you stood for something. Knowing you didn't compromise your dignity for people who only loved your money. Harold spent 2 decades being ignored. Dismissed. Treated like he didn't exist. He could have bought their affection back. Written that check. Played the desperate father. Instead, he chose self-respect. That's the lesson. You teach people how to treat you. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk away. If you're over 65, you know this truth. You've lived long enough to see that character matters more than comfort. That integrity outlasts popularity. That the people worth keeping don't come with price tags. Harold found peace not by changing his son, but by changing himself. By realizing he didn't need validation from people who'd already shown their true colors. If this story resonated with you, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button for more revenge stories where justice wins. Drop a like if you think Harold did the right thing. And comment below. What would you have done in his situation? Would you have forgiven them? Or would you have walked away? Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who's been waiting for an apology that'll never come. Someone who needs permission to choose themselves. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction. It's freedom. I'm John, and this is John's Revenge Stories, where we prove that dignity always defeats greed. Click the video on your screen for another story of justice served cold. Thank you for watching. And remember, it's never too late to choose respect over regret.